Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nelson, here on this wonderful Thursday afternoon. And there's finally some actual good news about, well, not really good news, but there's finally actual news and some things we could actually talk about now with looking at the Lakers and their coaching decision. So that's going to be the first segment because now it seems they have a new front runner for the head coaching position, completely different than what happened in the last segment. Where, like, if you guys saw the previous podcast that I did, and if you guys heard it, I was talking about how Redick seemed to be in the front running to be the new coach, and now we have something completely different, which is now Dan Hurley. He's in the front running, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. We also have the second segment where we talk about Cheryl Reeves. She just became the she now is I believe, she owns the second most wins as a WNBA coach now. She recently just broke that, just passed that record last night in the game between the Lynx and the Sparks, I believe. Then there's also the third segment where we talk about Luka Doncic and whether or not, if he wins this championship, will that solidify him as the best Dallas Maverick to ever play for the organization. The game is tonight, so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Then we also have a fourth segment where we talk about how Kyrie, since the finals, they are happening today, it is the first game, so that's going to be the third segment, and it's going to be about how he missed LeBron as well, since I did a segment the other day about how LeBron made comments towards Kyrie. Now Kyrie responded back to those comments. And we also have a special fifth segment that I reveal at the end of the fourth segment, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Before I begin, I'd like to remind everybody to please use the link in the description to get your comments recognized, or the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment. That is gsmcspodcast.net. It really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself and you guys. Once again, the link is gsmcspodcast.net. And with that out of the way, we can go right ahead and talk about the new head coach. Well, he's not the new head coach just yet, but it seems like he is going to be for the Lakers, which is Dan Hurley. Now, he used to be the coach for UConn. He recently won 2 national titles for the Huskies. Obviously, he has way more coaching experience than Redick in that department. Now, I understand that it is college, so there is a difference between coaching NBA players and coaching college kids and college players. There is a very huge difference there in terms of like how you can utilize the players, and just the overall game of college is just way different than NBA basketball. There's more focus on team basketball with the NCAA and men's basketball as opposed to the NBA, where there is more of a focus in star power, even though you can succeed pretty well in both. You have more success with team ball in college than you do in I can't really say than in the NBA, because we see teams that are really good when they have that one individual star, but we don't see them become one of the great teams. You always need that other player and that other star player on you, at least more recently with NBA basketball. There's more focus on star power than there is on team, both in the regular season. But in the postseason, it sort of becomes a lot more of a half-court game, and it becomes more of a team game, and it's like, okay, you're not going to make it all the way to the finals, and you're not going to win the finals if you don't have a competent team, which I think is probably the biggest reason as to why they are preparing this huge contract for Dan Hurley. I'm really surprised with this move. Again, I thought Redick was going to be the coach for the Lakers. A lot of people thought he was going to be the coach. It seemed like the podcast between him and LeBron was going to be like the definitive answer that we were all looking for as to, okay, well, LeBron starts the podcast with Redick. This seems like it's going to be an easy signing for him, but here they pull an Uno reverse card where it seems like it somewhat seems like they were just trying to not really use Redick, but sort of have him there as a decoy, where it's like, okay, we can use him as the front running, so nobody tries to understand exactly what we're really trying to be doing. Like, that could be again, it's just a theory because, like, in reality, literally, this was just Uno reverse. Yesterday, we thought it was JJ Redick, and now, out of nowhere, we are seeing that it's a completely different coach. I'm just grabbing my charger from my phone so that way I could go ahead and look at the notes that I have set for this segment. But again, his head coaching career, he's been very successful. His record as a head coach is 141-58 with 6 seasons with UConn, and again, back-to-back titles, very, very impressive. Despite the fact it doesn't matter whether they're college or whether they're NBA or whether it's high school, if you win back-to-back titles, it's obviously like it's cemented in history, and it's one of the things that is never going to be forgotten, especially like from in the area where I go to college in as well. A lot of people really like the Huskies. They're a very popular team. He's a very popular coach, and it's going to be like, I mean, it doesn't seem like he's going to take another another position. And up until now, like, everybody thought that he was going to stay with UConn, and given how much money UConn was planning on giving him, I mean, with the coaching moves recently in the NCAA, there's most likely going to be a high demand for money coming in from Hurley, and maybe that's too much for UConn to back up, because, I mean, he won back-to-back NCAA titles, but his salary right now, his contract is only $32 million off of 6 years, like, because that was his contract. It was a 6-year, $32 million contract, and he's considered the best college coach working right now, and it makes total sense because one of the coaches that used to be, like, he used to be part of Coach K's staff, and honestly, that might be the big reason as to why the Lakers even interviewed Coach K to begin with, to try and see, like, how good of an option Dan Hurley would be, and maybe ask Coach K his opinions on him as a coach in that situation. I have no idea exactly, like, the reason as to why they interviewed Coach K, but I wouldn't be surprised if it has to do with the potential hiring of Dan Hurley. Now, again, given how much money he was being paid on UConn, it's almost like, okay, it makes total sense that you go over to the NBA, because it's like the money that you make as a coach in the NBA is obviously much greater than the money that you make as a coach in college, depending on the program, of course, and depending on how, like, the state of where the team is, how they hire you, when they hired you, all of that gets influenced into the contract negotiations and the signings. So he might not become the most paid coach in the NBA right now, because that's going to be Tyronn Lue after the huge contract that he signed with the Clippers. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to make so much more money than what he was making on UConn. So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh Twitter for a few seconds just to see if there's an actual update on exactly how his Lakers contract is going to be constructed, because there was only word on him being the front runner. There wasn't word on any sort of contract, like legitimate deals in the contract, if that makes sense. So it's like there's not an official contract out there yet. They're still working on it. They're still finalizing it, from what I know. So it doesn't seem like we're going to get an update right now. I do not expect a contract update to be given out right now. So this is sort of the only information that we have. Is this a W? Is this an L? Let me know what you guys think of that in the comments. If you guys think, this is a good move for the Lakers, definitely. I personally think it's a much better option to go with a coach that actually has more experience, because granted, it's college basketball, so the experience is different. But still, LeBron is a huge fan of how he ran the UConn offense. UConn's offense was insane in the NCAA tournament last year. I mean, well, technically, I guess this year. And they seem to be, they were a unit. They were so good, in fact, that there was even a debate on whether or not UConn would be able to beat the Detroit Pistons in the NBA. Like, that's how good the team was. And part of that has to do with it has to do with the coaching scheme. I feel like coaching is one of the most underrated but the most useful thing you can have in a college program. Like, if you don't, it seems like most of the time the programs that have the best coach are like the programs that win the most, because like obviously we know Coach K's reputation, and there are several other coaches as well, as in not just in regular basketball but in other fields of college sports as well, that like for example Saban, he's an example of a legendary coach from a completely different sport, and his teams, they always seem to be successful. It never mattered. But call it what you will, whether it be like the talent that they can get, whether it be their actual coaching ability, I think it's just too much of a coincidence to say, not to say that coaching has a huge impact in college. But that's all I have on this first segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the second segment, where we shift over to WNBA basketball and we talk about Cheryl Reeves. She's the WNBA head coach of the Minnesota Lynx, and she recently just broke the second place record for most wins as a WNBA coach. So I will be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned for that.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with our second segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this second segment, we are going to be talking about Cheryl Reeves and just bringing some attention to her and her achievements in the WNBA. Before I begin, I'd like to remind everybody to please use the link in the description to get your comments recognized, or the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment. That is gsmcspodcast.net. It really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself and you guys. Once again, the link is gsmcspodcast.net. And with that out of the way, we can go right ahead and talk about go into the second segment, where we talk about Cheryl Reeves and her becoming the... Sorry, I have a toothache and it's really bothering me. But we're going to be talking about Cheryl Reeves and her achievements as a WNBA coach. She's very, very well decorated as a WNBA coach, I will say. Like, she's been on U.S. Olympic teams. She's won championships. She's basically done it all. And it's like, this is just another, it's a cherry on top of like all the accolades in which she's already broken. She's already been like cemented in history with her accomplishments with Team USA, as well as her accomplishments as a coach for the Lynx. But this is just like sort of a cherry on top. I think it's safe to say that like whenever you win championships and whenever you're just constantly like, you're this successful as a coach or even as a player, like the most the most rewarding thing is to win the championship, and that's really like what a lot of people are going to remember more than they're going to remember like all-time wins. And even though all-time wins is a very, very good achievement, people are going to look at championships a lot more. And because it's like, what can you do when the lights shine the brightest? How does that affect your game? Do you elevate? Do you lose composure? All of these sort of things that have to be taken into a factor when looking at these players and talking about these coaches as well. When you think about like who is the greatest coach in a specific sport, these are the types of things that like you have to think about in terms of like just greatness overall and everything in general. Now, she is like, I mean, compared to every other coach, she isn't that far off from the coach that has the most wins as a WNBA coach. Now, she recently has 300 plus wins on her resume as a WNBA coach, and I believe she's about like, yeah, she has 307 wins, and she's roughly like, let me just do quick math here, 72 wins off of the next coach that's right above her, which is Mike Thibault. Now, obviously, like, I mean, Thibault with 379 wins, that's a lot of wins, but I mean, it feels a lot shorter than what it feels like, a lot smaller than what it actually is. Like, it's not like a 100 win difference. It's almost a 100 win difference, but it's not really a 100 win difference. And she definitely could break the coaching record if she coaches long enough. I am not entirely sure exactly like Mike Thibault's position in basketball right now. I don't think he's actually no, he still is the coach. Never mind. So it doesn't really seem like now would be the time, but until he retires, she definitely has a chance of reaching that status and being the best WNBA coach by solidifying it with all of the wins that she can get. So she helped USA claim gold medals in the 2016 and 2020 Olympic Games, and in the 2014 and 2018 FIBA Women's World Cup, where she took command of the program and has been the head coach through 2024 of Team USA. So having two Olympic gold medals and then having two more basketball gold medals as like under your resume. Obviously, they aren't championships, which is, I find it a little bit odd how we, as a media and as like the culture of sports, we value rings in championship leagues as opposed to being able to snag Olympic gold medals, which is like, it's part of the reason why Carmelo Anthony gets so much hate, despite the fact that he's one of the best Olympic basketball players that Team USA has ever had. And he does have the most gold medals as a W, and I think the most medals as an NBA athlete that plays Olympic basketball. And like, he doesn't really get any kind of praise for those Olympic gold medals, partly because he played with some ridiculous talents, but it's not like he was, a non-factor in the Olympics. I don't think any athlete is a non-factor in team sports in the Olympics. I feel like they all deserve the credit for winning a gold medal, because that's a huge honor for your country. Now, she went 2-0 in the FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament, and then led Team USA to a perfect 8-0 record and its fourth consecutive World Cup title at the 2022 event in Sydney. And the USA team, they won 83-61 over China to set the record for the largest margin of victory in a women's World Cup final. And the previous one was like, this was a 22 margin of victory, 22-point margin of victory, and the previous one was 20 when USA went up against the Czech Republic in 2010. And when the United States went up against the Soviet Union in 1986. So that was the record before, so now they just recently, well, not really recently, 2 years ago, they broke that record. And she's a three-time WNBA Coach of the Year in 2011, 2016, and in 2020. And she's won 4 WNBA titles as a coach as 2011, 2013, 2015, and 2017 were when she won as a head coach, and in 2006 and 2008 she won as an assistant head coach. So in total she has 6 WNBA titles, which is the same as Michael Jordan has NBA titles, by the way, in case you guys have forgotten. And she recently, she's obviously still coaching the Lynx, but she completed her 14th season, and she has a 301-70 record. That's a 63 win percentage, and a 41-21 record in the playoffs. That's a 66 win percentage. So obviously, like I said before, very, very decorated. Now, prior to being named the head coach at Lynx, she spent 9 years as an assistant with Charlotte, and again, it was in 2001, 2002, then 2004, 2005. Then she went to Cleveland in 2000. She went to Cleveland in 2003, in between, her time with Charlotte, and then she went to Detroit for 3 years in 2006, 2009, before becoming a head coach. Now, obviously, she has a lot on her resume, and it definitely makes sense to put her as one of the best WNBA coaches that have ever lived. So that's all we have on the second segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the third segment, where I talk about Luka Doncic, since the finals are going to happen tonight, and I'll just give my opinions, what I think is going to happen, and the possibilities on if the Mavericks end up winning. So I will be right back after this short break. Stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to be talking about Luka Doncic and the possibility on him becoming the best Maverick ever after this final series is over. Now, this is going to be a huge debate, because this is only the second NBA title that the Mavericks have won in their franchise's history. And the first title that they won is obviously one of the most infamous finals ever, 2011. This was when Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks surprised the entire world after beating the Miami Heat. They were down 2-1 in this series, and they ended up winning the next 3 games to make the series 4-2. This series is infamously known for LeBron choking. This was the only choke of his entire playoff career, and it was arguably the worst because people still talk about it to this day, and people still try to discredit LeBron just from this one series alone. So I feel like everybody knows this series all too well, and ever since then, Dirk has sort of solidified himself as the greatest Dallas Maverick to ever live, and one of the best foreign players to ever live in NBA history as well, and to play in the NBA. I can focus on the WNBA still. That's my bad. But with the fact that there was only one championship in the entire history of the Dallas Mavericks, obviously the best player on a Dallas Mavericks team that wins a title is going to be put in the conversation as one of the best Mavericks ever. And to be fair, Luka and his awards and the amount of accolades that he has already under his belt, as well as the records that he's broken already, is astonishing. Like, there were already talks about whether he was going to be the best Maverick ever before he even won a title. And I don't think anybody expected him to become this close so soon. I mean, it only feels like yesterday when he was drafted. I know he was drafted like a while ago, all the way back in, I believe it was 2019, before COVID struck and it ruined basically everything for a lot of people. And I do know that, Luka he has been one of the best playoff performers that the league has seen. Despite the fact that he lost to the Clippers 2 times in a row, a lot of people were still giving him praise for the talent that he showed. And the only thing that was missing for him was to have talent on the team in order for him to go far. And it seems like he's found that talent with Kyrie and the rest of this Maverick squad that he has going for him. Now, geez, this toothache is really, really bothering me. But is he going to be the best Maverick ever if the season concludes with the Mavericks winning a title? I think he has a really good shot, especially if he wins the Finals MVP, because he's only going to get better as the years progress. And he's already considered by many one of the best, arguably the best player in the NBA. I mean, right now he's definitely the best player in the NBA. But once that season starts, it goes between him, it goes between Giannis, it goes between Jokic, it goes between a lot of different players, and it also goes between Shai. But given how these playoffs have unfolded, it would seem like Luka Doncic is the best player in the NBA currently, and given that he is the best player in the NBA currently, I don't think that's a thing that Dirk has ever had. Like, I don't think there was anybody at that time in 2000, 2010, 2011, in between where Dirk played on the Dallas Mavericks. I don't remember anyone ever saying that Dirk was the best player in the NBA. So there was never really an argument for him being the best in the NBA. Maybe the best at his position, but never really the best in the NBA. I don't remember. And Luka having that edge over him, on top of the fact that he's also able to get triple doubles with ease, and he's able to do everything on the basketball court with ease, other than just scoring, it would seem like I feel like there's really no other argument for Luka not being the best Dallas Maverick when it's all said and done. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, give him some time because you have no idea how his career is going to develop. Well, I don't really think he's going to slow down anytime soon. So I think it's safe to say, I'm all for putting somebody at the position when I think their career is said and done, because they could only either meet those expectations or they could only get better, especially when they're playing this good for this short of a time period. I mean, we have a lot of seasons to judge off of Luka. I can't even lie. It's not like he's new to the league. So, but given that, we know what he's capable of, and I feel like that's going to be enough. If he does have that championship ring and the Finals MVP under his resume, I feel like that is definitely going to be enough to classify him as the best, because Dirk Nowitzki, his game, as a whole, his main gimmick was scoring. He wasn't, obviously, as a power forward, he'd have to rebound the ball a lot, but it's not like he was one of the, a crazy rebounder at the center, how you'd think. Obviously he was good at rebounding, but he wasn't as good, and he was not really praised for his rebounding. And he definitely wasn't praised for his passing. That for sure. He was not known as a passer in the NBA. And, well, granted, he passed the ball, but it's he didn't rack up that many assists. That's why I say he's not really known as a passer. But with that in mind, and like with how well-rounded Luka Doncic's game is, I think it's like it becomes really difficult to make an argument that he's not the one of the best Dallas Mavericks players to ever live if he wins this title. Now, this is a big if he wins, because he's going up against. Oh, another thing that needs to be considered is the team that he had to go up against in order to win the finals. Like, this Boston Celtics team is no joke. They won 60 games, and he is a 5th seed in the Western Conference. So I know that the gap between, like, you know, the 1 and the 5 seed is only a couple of games. But, like, aside from that, like, being the 5th seed and beating the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference is ridiculous, especially when it comes against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. He literally just won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, so I don't want anyone saying, like, oh, he wasn't All-NBAs, but he won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He won it for a reason, and not to mention Drew Holiday and Derek White, they made the All-NBA second team defensive, so it's a lot that's stacked up against them. The Celtics, they have the defense and they have the offense to be able to beat the Mavericks in this series. If he's able to overcome that, then I feel like it's going to be very, very difficult to keep him out of that discussion as the best Dallas Maverick ever. That's really all I have on this third segment. It's a lot shorter than the last few segments because I'm more excited for the game that's going to happen later than I am for whether or not Luka is going to be the best, whether he's not going to be the best, because it's been a while since we've been able to talk about NBA basketball, like the games and like the actual games as they go on. I really like talking about the games and like what goes on, what happens. I watch every single one of them, and really, it's like I'm just really excited for the series to go down. Like, I mean, Boston versus the Celtics, like, Boston versus the Celtics. What kind of logic is that? Kyrie versus the Celtics, if my English can actually if my English can actually sound like English. Kyrie, obviously, he has the beef between the Celtics, so really, I'm going to look forward on this series and how well he's going to perform in the Garden. And speaking of Kyrie, he had some comments to make about LeBron. That's going to be my second segment. It's going to be about how they miss each other, this, that, and the other. I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned for that segment.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, we're going to talk about Kyrie and his comments towards LeBron about how he misses LeBron as well, or it seems like he misses him just based off of the comments that he made towards him in a press conference. But before I begin with that, I do like to cross over to talk about UConn's coach. There is a little bit of an update. 23 minutes ago, an article was posted saying that UConn's head coach, Dan Hurley, he met with his players talking about the head coaching vacancy of the Lakers and how the Lakers are in conversation with him to take that mantle. And I'm looking at a tweet now where John Fanta, he recently tweeted, Dan Hurley met with his players at UConn this morning and informed them he's been in talks with the Lakers, a source tells Fox Sports. Hurley didn't want to hide the fact that this is real, and the Huskies have a noon practice, and Hurley told his players it's business as usual for now. So a Fox source also has told Fox Sports that, a source from Fox Sports, has also said that Hurley is at 50-50 in terms of weighing the decision on whether he is going to make the leap to the NBA and coach LeBron, or if he is going to try and three-peat in college. And obviously, like, it's really weighing in on that decision. It's really difficult because three-peating in college is something that has never been done, and he has a chance to become the first coach to do that in the history of of college sports, and here he is now conflicted with coaching the Lakers and possibly moving up in the head coaching standards, because again, it's really tough, because I have no idea like which side to pick. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if he refuses, but I would feel a little bit bummed out if he did, because it's like, this is a shot at making history. You don't really get this many opportunities, and here you are throwing it away. It's going to look really bad if the Lakers don't do well next season and he is the head coach. If he's the head coach and they don't do well, it's going to be a really bad look, because everybody is going to be like, wow, he really decided to leave UConn for this. And people they're going to start making comparisons like, what could have been? This man could have done this. He could have done that. Everything like that. So he's definitely got to weigh his options. So I don't really expect a decision to be made very soon. Definitely going to be made in, like, I'll give it 3 days. Maybe 3 days. Maybe even a little more than that. But we'll give it 3 days, see how it goes. And shoot, maybe there's a discussion. Maybe they figured it out right now. Who knows? But in this segment, we're mainly going to talk about Kyrie and what he has to say about about LeBron's comments. And so this is an article written by Dave McManaman. Excuse me for botching that name completely. He's a staff writer for ESPN, and obviously, like, in this article, he said, is that the first question when asked about LeBron not being his teammates? And LeBron, as I mentioned before, he recently said that he was effing mad at the fact that he's not Kyrie's teammate anymore. And Kyrie, he mentioned it before, like how he really feels like that championship team and what they've done in 2017, where they demanded greatness from each other. It was very, quote, appreciated that James's sentiments are on his Mind of the Game podcast with Redick. And he also said LeBron called Kyrie the most gifted player that the NBA has ever seen. And Kyrie, he said, now that Kyrie is 32, he quoted, "Obviously, I'm in a different age, different place in my life. So is he. I think we both have been able to mature and really appreciate that we got a chance to accomplish." Kyrie Irving said, "I think there were some things that got in the way of our relationship when I was a little bit younger. Now that I'm able to vocalize how I feel as a man, be comfortable in it, to stand on my square, my beliefs, where I'm coming from, I feel like our relationship's different because of that now." And it's sort of alluding to what I said on the previous podcast about Kyrie and LeBron. It was more so Kyrie Irving maturing and realizing that, as it was like, there was actual beef between the two. And that's sort of like how the relationship ultimately crumbled down, mainly because of Kyrie's immaturity. Kyrie was also quoted saying, "Definitely miss him. Man, when he says comments like that, I think back to us having those moments when we're down in a series, up in a series. We're really demanding greatness from each other off the court. Our families meshing well. I definitely think about those times." So it seems like Kyrie, he's just as sentimental about all of their achievements as LeBron is. And honestly, how could they not? They both achieved one of the greatest feats in NBA history and in basketball history by coming back 3-1 in a series in the finals where nobody ever thought they would ever come back from that series. And it's really, like, obviously, like, it's hard not to miss that kind of person. It's hard not to miss someone who makes it to the finals with you every single year. Like, the demanding greatness part is really like what stood out for me. It's the fact that they both asked that from each other, and they knew that they weren't going to win it alone. So despite the fact that they were somewhat immature, they both knew that they needed each other if they wanted to win and ultimately stop the 73 win Warriors. Like, that season they were on a mission. It was as apparent as they come, and it makes total sense to me as to like how Kyrie Irving could miss this. And it also makes a lot more sense as to why they were broken up, because now Kyrie he confirmed the notion that it was a bit of a immaturity on his part, as well as the fact that it was like other factors that were involved in that decision as well. But it was mainly his immaturity. Now that he matured, he has a different outlook on the situation, and maybe if he was a little bit older at that time, things would have played out a little bit differently. But who knows? And it's really like, it's mistakes that happen when you're young, and they happen a lot. It happened to one of the more recent athletes that I can really think about was that it happened for, and that it happened to, was Carmelo Anthony. And I remember there was a time where Melo, he did say that the original big three, it was supposed to be Dwayne Wade, Melo, and LeBron, but Melo he would rather go and pursue the money in a contract as opposed to like win a championship, which now is sort of like the big mistake in Melo's career, because now he has no NBA title, and the biggest stipulation on his career is the fact that he doesn't have an NBA title. So, these mistakes, they happen when you're young, but it's a good thing that, Kyrie sort of like matured from that, and now he's back in the finals again, and he's performing well, he's playing well, he's fulfilling that second option very well. And speaking of second option, we're going to might as well go ahead and go into the fifth segment, where we talk about LeBron's best teammates. This recently came up when Kendrick Perkins, he ranked Kyrie and Anthony Davis over Dwayne Wade. And I just, I had some opinions on that, and I feel like sharing them in the fifth segment. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And let me know in the comments what you guys think on LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. If you guys think that their relationship is great, maybe they should run it back on a completely different team, or maybe they should go back to Cleveland and reunite, do something like that. Something before LeBron retires, or if you think that it's fine that their paths don't cross anymore. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I will be right back after this short break, and stay tuned. And we are back with the fifth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fifth segment, we are going to be talking about LeBron's best teammates, because this recently came up in a discussion where Kendrick Perkins, he said on TV that he feels like Kyrie and Anthony Davis, they should rank above Dwayne Wade in terms of, who is the better teammate that LeBron had. And I personally do not agree with the statement whatsoever. Now, he said this in a recent interview with Brandon Robinson, and he spoke on AD and Kyrie being LeBron's best teammates, stating that it was tough to choose between the two, but he had Davis slightly ahead of Kyrie. AD in the bubble, this is a quote from him, AD in the bubble was putting up Shaq-type numbers. I want to say it's AD, then I want to say it's Kyrie next, but man, to be down 3-1, pull off something that has never been done in NBA history, what Kyrie averaged in that series, I would say better than Wade. So it seems like he's looking at, playoff accomplishments and playoff numbers more so than, like, whether or not he was actually, like, the better teammate. Now, I don't know how you would rank that, and I have no idea, like, the opinions, because obviously, like, everyone's opinion is gonna be different, and it's really difficult to argue D Wade as, like, not being LeBron's best teammate, because if we're just looking at playoffs, like, and what they did in the playoffs, like, we're acting like Dwayne Wade didn't average good numbers in the postseason along with LeBron James in the postseason. I'm just looking at D Wade's playoff game log right now because, like, obviously there's a lot of games on his playoff play log. So, but to look at obviously, like, Kyrie, he was averaging 30 in the finals with LeBron when he was up against Golden State, in both series when he was up against Golden State. And, like, to average that many points in the finals, as well as, like, in the playoffs in general, that is obviously, like, it's not something to laugh at. And his performances, like, I mean, obviously the averages, they are a little bit better than what D Wade averaged while he was with LeBron in the postseason, but I feel like that's unfair. Like, to just judge these two players based off of talent, like, in the playoffs alone, is rather unfair, in my opinion. And, like, I understand that Kyrie, like, obviously coming back 3-1 in the finals is not something to discredit, and it's not something to, like, be like, okay, that's not really that big of a deal, because it is that big of a deal. But to say that he's that judging off of that one finals alone, to say that he is better than D Wade as LeBron's teammate, I'm not entirely sure. Because if we want to think about what they've done in their careers, like, with LeBron as their teammate. So D Wade with LeBron, they made it to 4 straight finals, which is one more than Kyrie and LeBron, making it to 3 straight finals. And they won the finals 2 years in a row, which is, again, better than winning the finals just 1 year, despite the fact that they were down 3-1 in that series. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's better to win back-to-back, or do you think it's better to win the winning after being down 3-1? Which one has a better mark on history? Let me know what you guys think. And now, I do understand that in 2014, D Wade did not play well in the finals and did not really play well in the postseason compared to his previous years. But aside from that, they still made it to the finals. So I feel like that should also be taken into consideration. Now, with Anthony Davis, on the other hand, I don't even know why he's ranked higher than Dwayne Wade. I genuinely do not, because I understand he was very good in the bubble, like in the finals and in the postseason when they had the bubble, but that was just 1 year in the postseason that he was really, really dominant, or that anyone really talks about his dominance. And when you look at the Lakers and the quote success that they've had with LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's nothing like the success that Kyrie and LeBron had, or that D Wade and LeBron had. So I can't really say that, like, just off of that one finals alone makes Anthony Davis the better teammate than someone like Dwayne Wade. And, like, it's really the real talk to me is between D Wade and Kyrie. Like, it's really tough. Because, again, D Wade did not have, or was not providing, the same amount of production in the postseason as Kyrie, but at the same time, they still did great things, like, with each other as teammates, as well as still perform really well with each other as teammates. And, I mean, making it to 4 straight finals while, being dominant in the Eastern Conference it's not something to, like, skim over. And not to mention all of the other great series that they had in Miami. Like, I mean, obviously, like, 3-1 in the finals, it's crazy. It's really difficult to beat, but it's not like that there weren't really good series with Miami and with LeBron and D Wade. That's basically all I have for this segment. Let me know what you guys think who you think is better. Do you think it's D Wade? Do you think it's Kyrie? Do you think it's Anthony Davis? Like, I mean, in my opinion, it should go D Wade, Kyrie, and then Anthony Davis, but I wouldn't really be surprised if you put what's it called? I wouldn't be surprised if you put D Wade over, or Kyrie over D Wade. Like, if you're just going off of, the 3-1 lead that they were able to beat in the finals, it's really difficult. It's a really difficult argument. So with that, we are out of time for this show. So that is going to be the end. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. As usual, please remember to use the link in the description to get your comments recognized, or the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself and you guys. That is all I have for this segment today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn it.